Hello, my darling little cherubs. Today I'm going to be taking our mental health in hand because I've had so many messages and phone calls, emails, Zoom calls about people really deeply concerned about their own mental health, their own levels of anxiety and stress, but in particular, you know, parents and carers of young adults and children, and they are feeling very isolated. I think first lockdown, a lot of the kids quite enjoyed it actually, but this third lockdown, they're really struggling, and I know that from my little Charles, as I said before, my youngest son. And he's doing 6 hours a day in silence. There's not a peep from his room. It's just texting. You can text, chat, but not interact with your classmates. And then to top it all off, he's having online evening lessons too. So it's tough. It's probably much the same for a lot of you out there. But then there's other, you know, full adults who are worrying about jobs and how to manage and things like that. So mental health has massively spiked. And if you have a different ability, as I've said in previous videos, if you have a different ability, pre-COVID, you were 2 to 6 times more likely to pick up an additional mental health issue. And I'm sure that figure is much higher now. So I've been having a good think, because not all of us are isolating with other people or have access to other people. Incidentally, I do have 2 of my children doing lockdown 3 with me, but every time I get my phone out and the stuff to record, they all disappear. Funny that. I think they were so sick of me by the end of last summer, and I don't blame them. They really did, honestly. Oh, they need some sort of official recognition for living with a mad woman. So today we're going to take our mental health in hand. Waiting lists for CAMS and different counselling services are huge. They were huge before COVID. They're even more massive now. So we're going to take our own mental health in hand, and I'm going to share with you today. It's really shiatsu and massage combined on how we can literally massage our hands, and when we do that, we're massaging our brains, releasing all those happy hormones and coping chemicals, reducing the grey matter around the fear centre, the amygdala, the emotional brain, and boosting it around the hippocampus for memory and learning, and also the prefrontal cortex, remember, the cockpit of our jumbo jets. So the fingers, when you do things with your fingers, the muscles in the fingers relate to the brain. So you can even, I've shared it on a previous video where we just did a tapping exercise, and to get those neurological pathways changing into more positive messages, more positive brainwaves, you can tap the messages in. So that's on another video. Today I'm going to share with you a little bit of massage, and the fingers all mean different things, and the parts of the hands all mean different things, very much like the hands and feet in reflexology. It all links in, and it's rooted in neuroscience, and that's how I always share everything, because I am not alternative, as I said before. Well, I might be in my personal life. I am a bit different, aren't I? That's neither here nor now. Here or there. Oh my goodness me. So, in my work, it's all rooted in neuroscience, and I'm going to explain to you how. And I do this with children as young as 2, because I truly believe I will never ever in my life be another adult doing something to or for someone. It's interactive. I want them to picture how they're healing themselves, how they're taking charge of their own mental health when I work with anybody. And so that's why I take a lot of time freely sharing my knowledge, and people tell me off for it and say you shouldn't share it because people might pinch it, and so what? You know, that's for their conscience. I want to share. I want to share with you all, and I want you all to understand why things like massage, shiatsu, acupressure, all these therapies I'm sharing with you, I really want you all to know and be able to picture in your minds how it works, because I'm really visual, and I'm very curious. I'm so curious. So for me, I like to know what it's doing in my brain, how it's working, and then to share that with you. So I've done so much training to root what I do in science, so that I can then say to really little kiddies sometimes, my little darlings, and they go away and they know if they're feeling stressed or tense, they can massage their thumbs. If they're feeling sad, they can massage their fourth finger. I'm going to talk you through all this. So all these things relate to the brain. So in a nutshell, if you look at your hand, you've got the top fingers here, the tops of the fingers, that all relates to the prefrontal cortex, the cockpit of our jumbo jets, all the higher brain functions like seeing consequences, organising yourself, motivation, focus, attention. Really, really important for those of us working from home, those of us homeschooling, and those of us literally on our own. And I'm sharing all this about the hand because even those of you who have really serious mobility issues, or you don't really have somebody coming very often into your bubble to do this for you, these methods I'm going to show you today are things you can do whether you're isolating on your own, whether you're in hospital, whether you're at home. You can share it in your bubbles, you know, so it's inclusive of everybody, regardless of budget, ability, different ability, situation. It includes all of you, and that's for me a big key to my work as well, is to put you all in charge of it, but to make it absolutely inclusive of all situations and abilities. So the tops of the fingers here, that is your prefrontal cortex, and it's your upstairs brain, the brain that can process information logically, that reacts reasonably, that can think ahead, can understand, can have compassion, can see the other side, can have perspective, all those things that keep us running out of fight or flight. The parasympathetic system keeps us in that rest, relax and learning mode. When you go to the thumb, you're then onto the hippocampus and that limbic brain. So that brain, the caveman brain, the downstairs brain. So if we go into fight or flight, this one stops communicating with all of these and it literally flips its lid, which is where our saying, flipping your lid, comes from. So the hippocampus, by the way, is also related to memory and learning. So when we massage this or use acupressure on this, we are literally boosting the grey matter eventually. I mean, obviously it wouldn't happen immediately, but if you get into the mindful practice of doing this, 2 to 3 weeks time, you are going to begin to grow the matter around your hippocampus and shrink it around your amygdala, the emotional brain, the fear center, because that actually houses our flight or fight switch. And if we're in fight or flight all the time, this does lead to terrific anxiety. And as I've said before, there's a very big difference between having moments of anxiety which are reasonable and caused by a trigger, and suffering from anxiety where it can come from nowhere. It can last weeks, months, days, you don't know. It can paralyze you with panic attacks. You'll know if you're suffering from an anxiety disorder if you have aching joints, frequent headaches, like stomach migraines, stomach feeling nauseous all the time, trembly, shaky, doubting yourself all the time, needing reassurance. That's the difference between moments of anxiety which are normal and to protect us, to having an anxiety disorder. So when we massage our hands and our fingers, we're really working on the brain. So it's a beautiful way to do it, particularly if you've got a child, say with severe autism, who doesn't like having their head touched at all because of sensory overload. Put them in charge of the touch. I do that with all kids, whether they're neurodiverse or neurotypical. I'll show them and they can mirror me. Sometimes I'll do it for them, but most importantly for me, I put them in charge of it. I show them how to do it for themselves so they can self-regulate, self-manage, become self-aware when they feel that anxiety building. It empowers them, and this will empower you. I'm talking way too much again. I've got so much to share. Honestly, I think I should make films and not really do just small YouTube videos, because you must all have blinding headaches at the end of it. I do apologise, but I just want you all to know how and why it works. So you've got it. You've got these tools. There's no waiting list to touch your own hand. You don't need to wear a face mask to touch your own hand. You don't need to queue for ages and be told when to come in to massage your hands. You don't need to, you just do it anywhere, in your home, watching telly. You don't even need to set aside special time for it. So it's really easy. So now I'm going to show you, because I've waffled on enough. So a good place to start, if you remember from before, I've shared with you about the anxiety point, which is the deepest part of the palm. It's the source, it's the middle of the palm there. And if you just press that, in the past, I've shown you how to massage it and rotate. And that's brilliant too, because this is your actual anxiety point. You're working deep under the solar plexus here, which is all about happiness, confidence, self-esteem, the will. You're releasing serotonin, the hormone of happiness, confidence, and self-esteem, which helps give that anxiety a good old bashing in a boxing ring. I like to really picture my stress having a good bashing, because then it gets rid of it. But you can also just press and hold, and this is Japanese Shiatsu now. You can just press and hold with your thumb, the center of your palm, for 30 to 50, 60 seconds, a minute. And do the same on the other one, because you're balancing left and right sides of the brain, don't forget, because they have different functions. And then with the little pad of your thumb there, rotate over your whole palm. And do this quite vigorously, or as vigorously as you can, depending on your mobility. Oh, that feels delicious. My whole body's tingling. Feels like it's full of glitter. And that, you're really getting the dopamine, the hormone of reward, focus, concentration, the higher brain functions. You're getting all that going. And do the other side. But you're really massaging that solar plexus, the will, self-esteem, happiness, confidence. You're getting all those happy hormones up from the gut and surging into the brain. You're also working on many, many, many reflexology points on the hand as well. It's like a full body workout without a stinky, expensive gym. I don't like the smell of gyms. Mind you, I've only ever been in one once, full of body beautifuls. Then I put my knickers on outside and my trousers because I was in such panic to get out. I shouldn't have shared that. Oh God. Anyway, so there we go. So that's the anxiety point. So we've done that. And then it's ever so simple. You simply squeeze very gently. Don't pull your fingers out of their sockets. That would be a bit painful. Gently squeeze and pull your thumb. Now your thumb, as I said before, limbic brain. So you're going onto the brain stem here too. So this is worry, stress, and tension. And that is really how anxiety begins and how our mental health starts to deteriorate. So just squeeze and pull. Then you go onto your index finger, squeeze and pull that. And now that's all about your back, actually. And don't forget, when you're squeezing the tips, you're on that prefrontal cortex, the higher brain functions, and the upstairs brain. But when you squeeze your index finger, it's not just your back, it's also fear. And there's a lot of fear at the moment. Fear is a huge, huge thing behind anxiety, because we're worrying what will happen next. And a lot of us, I would probably say near enough all of us are feeling this at some point, if not an undercurrent of it most of the time. So this is digestion, what we can digest, what we can't digest, fear, and your back. So if you've got a bad back, that's a good one to do as well. Then your middle finger, and it's interesting, I'm not being rude, but you know how sometimes people stick their middle fingers up? I don't do that, because it's a bit rude, you know. But anyway, I don't know why I'm whispering, I keep whispering on YouTube videos. If you squeeze and pull that, what you're working on, and it's interesting, this link with how people do that, stick it up, you know, when they're cross with someone. This is actually the finger that holds on to anger, frustration, that real deep fatigue, not just tiredness, but you're just exhausted, you're worn out. That's all in your middle finger too. And also indecision, because if we're very, very tired and we're anxious, we begin to procrastinate a lot. That's another sign of having an anxiety disorder, is when you're procrastinating all the time and you're very indecisive. So this will really, really help. And then you've got your fourth finger, or your wedding finger. And if you squeeze that, you're working on relationships, you're working on sadness, and you're working on grief. And I particularly wanted to share this today because I know somebody very recently, beautiful, beautiful lady who I've shared so much of my work with. And she recently lost her husband due to COVID-related illness. So grief, sadness, relationships, that's a really good one. And when you squeeze your fingers, it's a little bit like this special yoga one I showed you, where you squeeze down the arms, and you can do it for yourself or for someone else. And it's that real bringing the energy down. You always do this down. Brings the energy down, and it's like a big, big hug. It's nice to do as part of self-care, actually, because there's touch has been absolutely eradicated from our lives. And to do this to somebody who's beautiful releases oxytocin too, the hormone of love and nurture that then stimulates all your emotional, intelligent parts of the brain. So then you've got your little finger, and this is a good one particularly for me to do, because this is all about the heart and trying too hard. And I worry about everybody. So this and I never feel good enough. I shouldn't share these things, but actually I think I should, because I want to be real with you. I really do. If I need to cry, I'll cry. If I need to laugh, well, I do, don't I? I'm a bit outrageous. But we are all going through these things. So just to recap, the thumb, worry, stress, tension. Give it a little squeeze, pull it gently. Forefinger, index finger, back, indigestion, fear. Fear is really big at the moment. Middle finger, think of it as your sweary one, if it helps you remember. And that is anger, indecision, frustration. You know, that absolute deep, deep fatigue. Fourth finger is all about breathing, your lungs, relationships, grief, sadness. And then your little finger, little pinky, is all about trying too hard and the heart. So that's why it's really good to massage all of those, and they link to those parts of the brain and those parts of the body. So you're having a full body workout. It's amazing. Then you simply do it to the other side. So I won't repeat it all now, because otherwise you'll be here all day, and I really am going to have to start making films. So do both sides. Then that way you're doing both sides of the brain, and you're nice and balanced and lovely and clear. And then to finish, you literally, if you massage the top of your wrist, big furry cuffs on because it's a bit chilly. If you just massage your wrist, that's the brain stem. That's the base of your brain. It's where you have that occipital ridge, the ridge that if you push your fingers up your neck, it's where the top of your neck meets that first bony jutting out bit on the base of the skull. So when you work here, you're actually lowering heart rate, blood pressure, that horrible, you know, when you start to feel a panic attack coming on. So just massage here. It's the base of the skull. And here's the brain stem too, if you want to do there, that's the brain stem. So you're really pushing up that oxytocin, serotonin and dopamine, flooding the brain with it. So there's an awful lot we can do. When you massage the thumb, don't forget, you're also boosting memory and learning, growing the grey matter around your hippocampus, because don't forget, you're in charge of your brain. I think there should be a diagram up in every single school from nursery, primary through to secondary. Nobody should be told they're stupid. Nobody should be told they can't. We are in charge of how we grow what's inside our brains. Yes, they stop growing at 18, but what we do with our grey matter is up to us. And this neurological programming, these brain waves that we ourselves put in. So, and then when you work on the top of the fingers here, you're on that prefrontal cortex, the higher brain functions, and you're really working on shrinking that grey matter around the fear centre. So just by working on your hands and doing those simple things, you are taking your mental health literally in hand. And this will help, you know, do it every day. I do it every day. You know, and incidentally, for those of you who have PTSD, do a little bit extra on your thumb, because what I learned, because I have PTSD, I have very high levels of it actually, just because of a few things that have happened to me in the past which weren't particularly nice. When you have prolonged PTSD, your hippocampus can actually shrink. It's the same when you have prolonged anxiety, because it's so fear-based. Your hippocampus can actually physically shrink. And if you think that's the grey matter that you're in charge of in your brain, that surrounds memory and learning. So when the grey matter around our amygdalas, our fight or flight, our emotional brain, grows because of this continual fight or flight feeling, this fear, anxiety, PTSD, OCD. What happens then is the grey area around the hippocampus shrinks, and it affects your concentration, your ability to retain information, memory, and it affects your learning. It's really, really, really hard to focus, really hard to get motivated. So it's a good one to do. Full body workout with your little hands. Look at that. All the gyms are shut. Take your mental health in hand and give it a little boost. Anyway, I've been yakking on for 20 minutes today. They're getting longer and longer. So thank you very much for listening. I really, really hope this has helped. It's so accessible to all of you, and I really hope as you do this, you'll be able to picture what you're working on. Because it's a lot of information to remember, I've actually made this video as well for Anna Kennedy Online, just www.annakennedyonline.co.uk. And there will be a 2-minute read article on there from me and some diagrams to back up this video. So if you want to know more, do log on there. You can also log on to my work for Anna on my own website, which is therapiesforspecialneeds.co.uk. That's me, and you can just press the button there, whiz to Anna and the article, and you'll get the diagrams of what all the fingers mean and things like that. And if you're a therapist watching this, share it. I don't mind. That's what it's all about. We are all in this together. We got to join together. You know, we are a global community. It's not, you can't just be out for yourself. Well, I can't anyway, you know, but anyway. Have a beautiful week, everybody. I really, really hope that's helped, and I will see you next Monday. Take care, stay warm, stay safe, and lots of love to you all. Bye-bye, darlings.